Mike Bohn here in Norfolk with Megan Olivi, the wife of Joseph Benavidez, who is fighting for UFC gold this Saturday night against Davidson Figueiredo. Megan, I mean, obviously a huge week here for both of you guys. What's it like just being around Joseph for a fight of this magnitude?
Honestly, it's normal. He is so calm and chill during everything that he doesn't have like a nervous energy about him, so nobody else really does. So of course it feels like fight week because he's not eating like he normally would and we're kind of like on a different schedule, but otherwise it feels like every other day that we're together. He doesn't have like this crazy attitude when it comes to fight week, and he doesn't get crabby during weight cuts, so it's very easy.
Yeah, very interesting. And for people who may not know, how did you guys even meet? How did you ultimately get together?
So randomly, we met in the lobby of the Mandalay Bay in 2009. I was there with two of my best friends. We had just graduated college. And so before I went to graduate school, we were going to Vegas. And met him. And we all went to like some, I don't know, Tryst or some terrible nightclub at that time. And then at the end of the night, he said, "Do you have email?" And I was like, "It's 2009. Yeah, I have email." And he's like, "Okay, here's my email address." I lived in New York City. I was going to school and working, and we emailed back and forth for a long time. Then we talked on the phone, and yeah, it just kind of all evolved from there. And when we got married about 4.5 years ago, that morning I left all of those emails for him so that he could read them. And we were just trying to impress each other so much, and yeah, it was really awesome.
Wow, that's a great story. And obviously, he's had his ups and downs and everything. Yeah. He's had all title opportunities before. Does anything feel different about this one? I mean, of course, the opponent, not Demetrius Johnson, is a little bit different there, but just in terms of his maturity, preparation, all those kind of things?
Yeah, I think when Joe came back from the ACL surgery, I think there was a lot that was different about him then. And it's all just been like a really positive snowball since then. I think that when you have something taken away from you by nothing in your own control, like he got injured and it was kind of a freak accident, and that healing process, he ended up being out of competition for 18 months. I think that's where he really learned a lot about himself and his life. And since then, I've seen an even better side of Joe. Not that he ever, needed to be this different guy, but he's only become more mature and more positive since then. And so as the years and the fights have gone by since the ACL injury, he's been just really amazing. He's super grateful for the blessed life that we live, and on top of it, getting to win fights is even better.
Yeah, what's it like just for you being in this world? Of course, everyone knows you for your amazing work, on UFC broadcasts, interviews. I'm kind of flipping the script on you a little bit here, but just how, obviously you're so involved in the sport, he's so involved. How do you guys separate, the two parts of your lives between the fight world and, just trying to box yourselves outside of that?
Yeah, I don't think there's really a lot to separate. I think people keep asking us that this week, and it's a good question because they're not like in our house with us, and there's not much to separate. It's not like I know these inner workings of the UFC and stuff, and it's like, oh, make sure you do this. I have no idea. And at the end of the day, what I think makes this work for both of us and our careers and our passions, and what we are so blessed and fortunate to do, is that Joseph's a really well-respected guy in the sport. Everyone who works in and around the organization, I think, thinks of Joe really highly. He treats everyone with respect and kindness, and so I think because of that, there's never been a problem with his past or future opponents. They've always respected him, so they in turn treat me with respect. And the way I approach my job is just, I want everybody to treat Joe with the highest level of kindness and respect. And so that's how I try to treat everybody else too, because I'm not the one interviewing him, in the lead up to his fights. It's everybody else. So I'm ultra protective of him. So, I try and make sure that I'm treating everybody I come across, or when I'm telling somebody's story, I try to make sure that I'm coming from a place where I would want someone to come from with Joseph.
Yeah, for sure. What's it like for you on fight night? I mean, what was it? Can you give us any insight and, maybe some past stories and what you think it's going to be like for you Saturday? Are you working?
I'm not. No, I was working, and then, because I work most of his fights, but because he's the main event, this one I'm not working. My prestige colleague, Brett Okamoto, is working this one, which he's wonderful, so that'll be awesome. No, so when I am working, it's actually a great distraction. For instance, he was the co-main event on an ESPN card in June, and so I was doing live hits throughout the night, tons of interviews, and it's great. I actually like that because otherwise everybody just kind of stares at me. You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. He's fighting like 5 hours. Like, I'm fine. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm okay. So I like being able to stay busy and stuff. But when I don't work, I don't watch Joe fight. Yeah. So this will be the first fight since I want to say since the first Formiga fight where he knocked him out in Brazil. This will be the first one I'm octagon side for. Joseph doesn't get nervous, but I get really nervous. Yeah. So I just feel like God gives me both of our nerves, and I just carry those for the 15 or 25 minutes. So yeah, it's like I have the utmost confidence in his abilities. I know how hard he works, and there's nothing I can do to help. Like, I can't go in there and be like, I got this too, you know? So yeah, I haven't watched in a really long time. I haven't even watched, like, a lot of his other fights back. But I'll be watching this one. I'm sure I'll have rosary in hand, you know, and stuff. But yeah, it'll be great. I mean, our friends and family are all coming, so I have an awesome support system. And he is so great on fight day that it's not like, I don't have to worry about him. Like, he's not like nervous, or he's not like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. He's not one of those guys you see backstage who's getting sick or crying or anything like that. He is genuinely so excited and can't wait to go out there that it does make everything so much easier for me. Yeah,
and of course it's a very unique thing. And you get as close to some of these other fighters. You see them interview them backstage seconds after. And I know all being in the sport for so long, we get somewhat desensitized to what's going on in there and the aftermath and everything. But you can't, it makes it so much different, I'm sure, when it's someone, you know, you're close with your husband, obviously.
Yeah, and you know, I think I'm not quite desensitized to it backstage. Once in a while you find yourself being like, wait, don't be so flippant. This is everything. Like, you know what it's been like in those good and bad situations. But I think even just logistically where I am a lot of the times backstage, you know, my setup is often right next to the medical tents. I find myself being somebody who's there to congratulate the winning families and also be there to just listen to the families who have not had the night go their way. And, you know, sometimes I think the best advice is just to remember that it's like, let the fighter have their emotions and then you just be there, the constant. And so I always try to, like, I've had a lot of significant others like come over to me and talk to me through their wins and their losses for whoever they're with. And I think being able to be a resource is something I'm really proud of, and something that I hope that I can always be for fighters and their families and their loved ones. And so I try not to ever, like, take any of their wins or losses for granted, whether they're the first fight of the night making their debut or, you know, somebody we've been around for 10 years. Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about this forever. I just find this so fascinating. But obviously the first 2 title opportunities didn't go his way. Number 3, hopefully third time's a charm. What do you think, you know, this win here does for his legacy, just his place in the sport, and, you know, overall happiness and just, you know, moving forward from here?
It just solidifies that Joe is one of the best. I mean, oftentimes they say, oh, he's the best UFC fighter to never have a belt. And, like, the belt is just an object that shows, like, yes, you are the best in this division, but I think there's been many times that Joseph has been the best. He's been in the WC from a bantamweight, UFC bantamweight, now to a flyweight once they created the division, and I don't think, you know, people have ever looked at him and been like, oh, he's not that good. Like, he's always been one of the best. He's been in the top 2 or 3 of 2 divisions for over 10 years. So I just think it puts like a final stamp on it, like, yeah, your name goes on that list of champions. Like he says, there's an extra line on your Wikipedia page. But I think professionally, it does so much for Joseph. And I think personally, yeah, he'd be really happy and he would be really bummed if somehow it didn't work out. But I think he is such like a whole person. You know, he has so much to offer that that adding that belt on top would be a really beautiful thing.
For sure. Well, it all goes down Saturday. Really appreciate you talking about it and giving me some insight.
Thanks,
it's once again like flipping the script a little bit on you here. Awesome. Well, keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Mike.